Hi, it's Neil Frankel. Welcome back to the third video on our course, how to increase your credit score so you can get a mortgage with a great rate so you can get the house that you really want. And before we dive in again, I want to thank you very much for your shares, your comments and questions. Remember, you can either save your butt or you can save your face, and it's much better to save your butt, and you do that by asking questions. I know sometimes people are afraid. They don't want to look like they don't know anything, but hey, we're all learning here, all of us, including me. And I learned what I know by asking a lot of questions. I've just been asking questions for more years than maybe you have. So by all means, thanks a lot. We're trying to build a community. Leave a question, I'll get back to you. Maybe someone else can answer your question. Something that you've come, an obstacle that you've had to deal with, let me know about it, or let us all know about it so we can all help each other. And I appreciate it. So comment. Share the videos with other people. Let them know about it. Maybe they have the same problem that you're encountering. And just as a recap, remember the whole concept of this course, is to help you increase your credit score so you can get the mortgage that you want with a good rate, so you buy the house that you want. And if you're a young couple or anybody, and you're trying to buy a house, and you're offered a rate on a mortgage that's very high, or you can't get a rate at all, or you can't refinance because you've got some blemishes on your credit score, it's very, very, very frustrating. And it's more than that, it's extremely expensive, and it can keep you from achieving your financial goals. Because every extra dollar that you're spending either in rent or you're spending extra money in a higher mortgage, that's money that you could be putting forward to your financial future, saving, investing, etc. That's why this is so important to you. So I promise by the time you're done with this entire series, if you haven't seen video 1 or 2, please go back and watch those. But by video 1 we saw what your credit score is made up of and some very easy fixes to boost some very easy ways to get some good points there. In video 2, we saw where to get your real credit history and how to read your credit report and how to start getting ready to get bad history off of your report. In this third video, we're going to learn all the things that can come off and how to get them off your credit report so you can get the better scores quickly and then get the mortgage. Let's not waste any more time. Let's get to work. This is how to get negative data off of your credit report once and for all for good. This is video 3 of 3. And as long as you have the 3 credit reports that I showed you how to get in the last video, you can execute a lot of the things I'm going to show you today. And if you do, you will see very fast results. You'll see your credit score start to climb very, very quickly. Now, here's what you're going to get today. And this is why most people who want to increase their credit score in order to buy a house, they stick around until the very end and watch all 3 videos. First, how to correctly dispute inaccurate, unverifiable, and incomplete negative items. There's the right way, and then there's a wrong way to do it. And I'm going to show you the right way to do it so that you don't waste time or energy or money. Number 2, how to present the evidence to support your claim. You've got to make sure that you present your information and your request in such a way that the credit bureau or creditor has no alternative other than to do the right thing. The simple yet unique way to escalate your dispute overnight, show you that. That's a quick one, and it's very powerful. You'll be surprised how many people don't do it, to their own detriment, unfortunately. Then we'll wrap up with what to do in case the creditors don't clean up your report, and how to outsource some or all of this process to save you time. So here's why this is so important. First, your credit file and your credit score is more important than it ever was. Obviously, if you're trying to buy a house and get a loan, if you don't have a good credit score, or if it's lower than it otherwise could be, you're going to pay a lot more interest. Or you may not be able to get a loan at all if you don't have a good credit score.
but also employers, insurance companies, people who want to do business with you or may consider doing business with you are going to look at your credit score, and it's your calling card. And that's why it is so important to have the highest score possible. Again, back to the issue of buying a house, if you have a lower score, you're going to unnecessarily pay tens of thousands of dollars in higher interest. And we want to avoid that if possible. The old system of cleaning up credit problems really doesn't work anymore. It used to be that you could write a letter and you'd get a response. And the use of credit has proliferated so that the systems now are much more automated and it's sort of stacked against you. So we need to go sort of outside of the box, and you're going to see today the ways to do that exactly as efficiently as possible. The credit industry has different interests in you. Obviously, if they all things being equal, they want your score to be accurate. However, you got to remember that when there's a discrepancy, it costs the credit bureau time and money and energy to fix it. So all things being equal, they'd prefer not to have to deal with problems, and their systems are sort of built around that. And number two, creditors have an interest in, again, they don't want to take advantage, but the lower your score, the higher the interest they can charge. So just understand that they have an interest which are not aligned. Their interests are not aligned with yours. So that means it's up to you to make sure that you sort of force them to play ball and to do the right thing. Because you need control of your credit history and score in order to have the freedom and the life that you want. You don't want to be a victim of your credit score. You want to sort of be the master of it. The first two videos are going to help you increase your score with some very easy techniques. And this third video is really structured to help clean up the credit report. So toward that goal, here's how this video is going to help you. First, you're going to stop wasting time with ineffective credit repair techniques. There are some techniques that will not only waste your time and money, but they'll actually hurt your credit score. We don't want you to do that. Next, I'm going to help you pinpoint exactly what you can and should dispute on your credit report. You're going to learn how to immediately escalate your dispute so that you at least cut in half the amount of time you would otherwise spend, if not by 75%. You're going to save a lot of time with one quick tool. You're going to know what your rights are and how to enforce them by understanding a little bit about the laws. I'm not going to send you to law school, but very quickly we're going to review one very powerful law that is really in your interest and really helps you deal with the credit bureaus and the creditors. You're going to know how and when to outsource some or all of this process. You'll increase your credit score as quickly as possible with as little effort as possible. And you'll use proven methods so that you're going to have the freedom and the control that you want. So that's a mouthful. There's a lot in this video that my goal is that we can put a lot of this to work. Let's get going. Before we get into it, I just want to say thank you. Really appreciate the comments, the likes, and the shares. And I really appreciate if you continue to comment and like and especially share it with your friends. We're trying to build a community here. If you've got a question, I'm going to answer it. And remember, any question that you ask, maybe the answer would help 5 or 10 other people. And I don't know what else people need to know unless they ask. So you could be doing yourself and a lot of other people a big favor by simply putting your question there. A comment and any kind of share would also be very much appreciated. Now, if you haven't seen them already, you can pause this video and watch video 1 and 2 by clicking the links above. And you might pause and watch them first. If you haven't seen them, you're going to learn a lot. In video 1, we learned how your credit score is calculated and why. And we also learned some very easy techniques that are free and easy that could boost your score. And that, quite frankly, that could be all that you really need to do in order to get the mortgage that you want. And we also learned, obviously, the scores that you need to get the very best mortgages possible and the best rates. In video 2, we learned how to get your complete your credit file for free, and how to read it to pinpoint the possible errors that could be dragging your score down. And we also learned more techniques about using your existing accounts to boost your score. And now what we're going to do is we're going to put it all together and show you everything to make sure that you spend your time wisely and clean up the errors that may be lurking in your credit history. And we're going to show you how to do it the right way, because there's so much bad information out there on credit repair that actually hurts people. So let's get to it. So remember, we talked a little bit about this in the second training. Negatives have got to come off your report if they are inaccurate, unverifiable, or incomplete. Inaccurate simply means the data is wrong. There's an account listed that doesn't belong to you, or there's a report of that you didn't make a payment when in fact you did, and they simply have to come off. If it's unverifiable, that means even if it's true, if the creditor can't prove that it's true, they have the burden of proof, not you. If they can't prove that it's true, then it's also got to come off. And so sometimes when companies go out of business or they're bought by another company, if the credit item, the negative item is old, you can dispute it. And if they're not able or willing to verify it, then it's got to come off. And finally, if it's incomplete, if there's an item that is, let's say, technically true but not complete, doesn't give you the whole story, it's not fair, that's going to come off. And an example of that is if, let's say, you were in the hospital and you didn't get a bill, or a bill was sent to the wrong address. Did you pay it? No, but how could you pay it? It wasn't ever sent to you where you were located. So there's a lot of different ways, 3 different ways to get negative items off of your credit report, and it's really important to keep these in mind as we go through your credit report. So let's take a look at this. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to pinpoint what we want to take off. And as we learned in the second training, there's going to be a section of adverse accounts and potentially negative items. So we're going to look at that first. That's where we really want to focus our attention, and we're going to look through each item very, very carefully. So here's one that's circled in red, and let's say that this one says that the responsibility is the individual. Let's say it's you. Well, what if it wasn't really you, but it belonged to you and another person? Or let's say it says here, you can see that was the payment after charge off collection. Let's say that never happened. Let's say you paid it before it went to collections, or let's say that it's just not correct. Or again, let's say that you never received a bill. Okay, so this is something that you're going to pinpoint and you're going to identify. You're going to make a copy of it, and of your credit report. You're going to get a copy of the report with the disputed item, and you're going to circle it. And then we're going to sort of start building our case to dispute the item. While you're gathering your proof, again, not only do you get your credit report and circle it and show why, and circle the item that you're disputing, but you also want to get any proof you can to show that what they're claiming on your report is incorrect. So, for example, if you paid a bill and they're saying it wasn't paid, for example, you might want to send in a copy of your check. If you were stationed overseas or you were in some other location, you might want to circle your address that they have for you, and then show them some proof that you were not at that location. Anything that you can do to build your case, you want to look for as much proof as possible showing that what they're claiming is either false, that they can't verify it, which we'll talk about in a minute, or that it's not the complete story. So you want to build that case and get as much proof as possible. Now, when it comes to writing your letter, I want you to be really careful about this. I know you're angry and upset, but when you're writing your letter, and it should be typed, of course, only present the facts. Don't start getting emotional. Don't call people names, and don't complain about people being rude or this or that or being unresponsive. Just present the facts. Explain why you're disputing, what you're disputing, and why you're disputing it. As I said earlier, you received a bill for something you never received, or you never got the bill, or you made the payment, whatever it is, what you're disputing and why. make a request very clearly. Don't just expect them to read your mind, even though it's obvious that you want them to remove it from your credit score, credit report. You want to spell that out. Please remove this item from my credit history. Obviously, include the proof. You want to send that letter verified, certified mail. Only send copies. Don't send originals. And just to be extra careful, have somebody read the letter before you send it. Make sure that it's clear, it's understandable, it's direct, it's not emotional, it's not attacking, but it's a business letter. Always good to have someone else read the letter before you send it in. And don't use a form letter. I'm going in the resources section. You'll see a place where you can get templates or at least ideas of what the letter should look like. But don't use a template. Write the letter in your own words, because these credit bureaus get thousands and thousands of letters every day, and when they see, just form letters, they're just not going to read them. When you send your own letter, something that's original, you have a much higher chance of having them actually review the letter and take action. Now, this is a little tip, but it's going to make a big difference. The simplest way to escalate your credit dispute is to simply make the dispute both to the creditor and the credit bureau at the same time. For some reason, whenever you read anything about credit disputes, everything on the internet tells you, well, you should first go through the credit bureau and then the creditor. And I've asked why that is, and there's just never been an answer to that question. You want to go to both at the same time. See, and here's what happens if you don't. The credit bureau, let's say you make your claim directly to the credit bureau. What they'll do is they'll forward it to the creditor and say, is this accurate? Can you verify it? And is it complete? And if the creditor says, yes, it's complete, yes, we verify it, and yes, it's accurate, that's all they need. The credit bureau will be done, and then they'll just send you back a letter and say, we looked into it, and the item is not going to be changed. If you write to the creditors, they have to respond to you with the proof if you ask them for it. And we'll get to that in a little bit. But the point is, what you want to do is definitely request both the creditor and the credit bureau to look into your claim at the same time. This way, you want to get, basically the credit bureau is not going to do anything without the creditor giving them, permission to go ahead and do it. So you want to attack both of these guys at the same time. Now, when you contact the creditors and the credit bureaus, even though some of these places will tell you, oh, you can call in or you can use the internet, don't do it. You want to write a letter, and here's why. You have special laws that protect you as a consumer, and many times if you call, you waive those rights. And if you send an email, it's the same thing. You could be waiving your rights. So make sure that you write you send a letter and it's certified so that you can make sure that they got it and you know when they got it. Also keep in mind that the credit bureaus and the creditors have special addresses to send your inquiries. Use that address. Don't use the address listed for payments, especially when it comes to creditors. And along with your letter, again, make sure that you include copies so you can support your allegation that the item is wrong, and make sure to highlight the items in question and send them a copy of the credit report itself. Now, at that point, the creditors have got to look into your dispute and the bureaus within 30 days. The only exception is if they think that you're making a frivolous dispute. And if that's the case, they're going to just blow you out of the water. But as part of the investigation, the bureau is going to send a copy of your dispute to the creditor. Doesn't matter because you're already going to be sending a dispute to the creditor. But then the vendor has to look into your matter as well and get back to the credit bureau with their findings. And as I said, you still want to contact the creditor in parallel. Now, if the creditor admits that the data is flawed, they have to inform the bureau, and the bureau has to correct your report, and they'll send you another one. Either way, the bureau is going to send you a letter with the results and a new copy of your credit report if there's a change as a result of the investigation. Now, keep an eye on your report, and don't get complacent, because even if you win your case, the vendor can later come back, and if they later prove that their information is accurate, they can re-report the negative item and it will show up on your credit file again. Now, if the results go your way, the Bureau has got to notify any party who reviewed your report within the last 6 months of the correction, as long as you ask them to do so. So please ask them to do that once you get satisfaction. And you can also ask them to send notification of the correction to any prospective employer who looked at your credit history over the last couple of years. Now, even if the results don't go your way, the Bureau has to make a note in your file that you disputed the item, and that note has to be included in any future credit reports. So that's very, very important. And they also have to send a notice of your dispute to anyone who reviewed your history in the last 6 months. But they won't do either of these things unless you ask for them to do so in writing. You may have to pay a little to them to do it, but it's probably worth it. Now, in your letter, what you should do is also demand that the creditor prove their claim. Sometimes it's very difficult for you to prove that something is false, but they should be able to prove that something is true. Remember, it has to be verifiable, accurate, and fair. It's going to be up to you to prove that something is unfair, but it's up to them to prove that it's accurate and verifiable. So in your letter, when you're making your dispute, make sure to say that you would like to see their, especially the creditor, you want to see the creditor's proof that the item is accurate and that they can verify it. And the only way that, if they can't do that, then you're going to win your case. Now, earlier I said that you want to make sure to make your dispute via a letter. If you call them, even though they say that, if they say it's okay to call them, or if you send them an email, you may be waiving your rights to demand proof. So you definitely want to write a letter and include your demand for proof that the item is accurate and verifiable. This is going to help you clean up a lot of the items. Now, after all is said and done, not everything is going to go your way, okay? If something, if you didn't pay a bill and you just didn't pay it, and the claim on your credit report is accurate, verifiable, and complete, the only way to get it off of your history is father time. Let the time go. As I said, most items will come off of your report after 7 years. And anyone who says, oh, give us, we're some crack, credit repair scheme, saying that they can get those items off, or they can, open up a new tax ID number, or all kinds of crazy tricks. Don't fall for that, because that is just a waste of time and money, and it's going to end up hurting you. But, as I said, if something really is unfair, or it's inaccurate, or it's unverifiable, you can get it taken off, and you should be able to get it taken off. And if you have an item like that, and the credit bureau or the creditor is not playing ball, you have a couple of choices. You can hire an attorney or take them to small claims court. And sometimes either one or both of these are very, very effective. Small claims court is great because they're not allowed to bring in an attorney. And you've got to be really careful about making sure that you comply with the laws in your own state and so forth. But if I've actually written a few posts on that, and that's, again, those are the links for that are in the resource section. So you want to read about that. But the small claims court can be great. It will take a little bit of time. You've got to make sure that you do it correctly. But in many cases, the creditor, they're at a big disadvantage. They're not geared for that kind of pain in the neck, and they'll probably call you and settle with you way before actually showing up in court. Okay, the second thing is you can hire an attorney. Now, you want to be careful about this. You certainly don't want to spend a ton of money you don't want to spend thousands of dollars to clean up a relative minor blemish on your credit score. But there's a couple of options that I like. I've written about Lexington Law, and they're the number one company, the biggest company in this space, and it's a law firm. And they've been around for over 25 years. They're the number one in the industry. So what's good about them is that they're relatively inexpensive, and they'll give you a free consultation. So once you've gone through this course, and once you've gone through your credit scores and your credit history, you can then very easily see what's hurting your credit score, right? You know what the items are. And because you're going to be an informed consumer, you can go to them and say, again, they're going to give you a free consultation. And you say, look, here are the problems. Do you think you can clean these up? Or you can try to clean them up yourself. And then if you're unsuccessful, you can go to them and say, and again, they're not the only company. There's a couple of good companies, but I'm most familiar with Lexington Law. But you could then go to them and say, look, I've tried to clean these up. What are you going to do any differently? So that way, you can make up your own mind and see if it's worth it. It's probably going to take about 4 or 5 months to really get significant traction. Okay, so if you're going to use a company like Lexington Law, I know it's like about $100 a month. When you think about what a better credit score could mean in terms of saving tens of thousands of dollars, over the life of a loan, or getting a mortgage or not, it's small potatoes. But you want to be thinking about that and see. But if you go through this course that we've outlined what to do, and you've identified the items, and you can talk to them, and and ask the questions, and what are they going to do differently that you're going to do? I think it's worthwhile. I think it's a worthwhile conversation to have. And if you like what they say, then maybe sign up and give it a try for a month or two and see if you're getting anywhere. And if you don't, if you don't like what you hear, then it didn't cost you anything.
Now, what I'd like to do is go over a few of the frequently asked questions that I get when it comes to credit repair. First, how long will it take to see an increase in my credit score? Well, there are some things that you can do that will be immediate, and I'm going to go over that in just a second. And there are some things that take a little longer. But quite frankly, since you cannot have too good of a credit score, it doesn't really matter. You want to do everything in your power to maximize that credit score because it takes a little bit of effort, takes a little bit of time. But remember, your credit score is something that you have for the rest of your life. And it's something that can mean tens of thousands of dollars, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, in lower interest costs, better jobs, less insurance premiums, lower insurance premiums, better business opportunities. So it behooves you to do everything in your power. So be patient. If you're asking that question, I kind of wonder if it means you might be impatient. So don't be impatient. But the next question is, what should I do first? That's a good question. You want to do the easy things with the best, the best bang for the buck. And those are first, absolutely, pay off your small loans first. If you've got a loan that you can pay off immediately, do so. Every loan you get off your credit report, that's going to boost your score by 10 to 20 points right there. Your next thing is credit utilization. Let's say you have a debt or a credit limit of $10,000 and you're using $9,999, so you're maxed out. Very, very bad. That's very costly in terms of dings against your credit score. I want you to only have no more than 35% utilization. So if you've got that $10,000 credit limit, have no more than $3,500 on that card. What you could do is you can spread your debt around to other cards. You can get your debt refinanced by maybe someone in the family. That would be completely off the books, which would be fantastic. Or as of the time that we're creating this video, you could use a peer-to-peer lender like Lending Club or Prosper. And again, that's right now, as long as you're make your current on your payments, that doesn't seem to be showing up on your credit scores and your credit reports. That could change at any time, but that's not a bad strategy to magically get rid of credit utilization. And every time you get rid of a maxed out card, that's a boost of 45 points. So that's a huge, huge increase very, very quickly. Definitely, that's your first thing. You want to make sure that you pay off your small loans and you get your credit utilization down to no more than 35%. Also, get rid of any credit cards from stores. If you have a credit card with Walmart or Target or Penny's or Sears, get rid of it. For whatever reason, the credit bureaus do not like that kind of debt. So you want to get rid of those cards if you possibly can, or at least maybe not close out the card, but get rid of the balances on that debt and get it over to another kind of card. If you're a co-signer on a loan, if you can get out of that, fantastic, do so. Maybe you signed off as a favor to somebody. Well, the credit bureaus look at that very seriously. So if you can get off of that loan, that's going to be a huge score booster for you. Now, some creditors will allow you to be removed if all the other borrowers sign off on it. Many won't. And in that case, the group of you may have to refinance your debt with you not being on that loan. But if you can possibly get out of being a co-signer, do so. And then finally, another very good, quick thing to do is don't get any more credit cards for a couple of months. Okay, those are your quick fixes. And I've added some more quick fixes in the first video, but in the Resource Center, you've got a whole list of things you can do, so definitely take a look at that. Another question is, are some points more important than others? No, all points are equal. It's just that there are some activities that I described just a minute ago that will give you more points and a better score boost more quickly. And again, like I said before, since every point counts, you want to do everything. It's just that obviously you want to do the things that give you the best boost quickest. You want to do those first, that's fine, but it doesn't mean you should stop after you've gotten to your level. You know, let's say your goal is a 740 or 750 or 760. Don't stop there. Why not go for an 800 or an 815? Do all these things and get the highest score possible, because it's going to pay off over your lifetime. Can creditors do whatever they want? That's another question I get. Can they ignore me? No, they can't. There's a lot of laws that are in your favor. You've got the Fair Credit Reporting Act, and there's 3 or 4 other very big, important, powerful laws that you can find more information about, again, in the Resource Center. You want to explore those and get somewhat familiar with them. They're not that difficult. You don't have to go to law school. But the bottom line is the creditors can't do whatever they want. See, they've got a process, and what they count on is that we don't know their process. But if we do know their process and we follow it and we force them to stick to it, then we've got an edge. What credit score do I need? Well, as I said earlier, if you've got a 740 to 760, somewhere in that area, you're going to get the very best mortgage possible. But again, I don't think that's any reason to stop. You want to max out your credit score. You want to go for the highest possible. Don't ever stop trying to get your better credit score. It can never hurt you. Now, the next question is, can I sue? Absolutely. You can sue. First, you can file a complaint with the Federal Trade Commission, assuming that you have a bona fide, dispute, that there's justification for it. So you can definitely file a complaint. And the best place to sue is at small claims court, because it's almost free. You can't use a lawyer, but neither can they. And also because they're not, the credit bureaus and the creditors, they are not structured. They're not built around defending themselves in small claims. Again, the people who would represent the company, they're managers and division managers, etc., and they've got other things to do, and it's not worth it for them. So if you have a justifiable claim where that item should come off your credit history, chances are good that they're going to settle, and you might even get compensation, financial compensation for your trouble if you sue them. Now, you do need to go through the lawsuit procedures correctly. You've got to be careful. You've got to go down and find out exactly what the procedures are, and they differ from location to location. But that's an avenue that is available to you, absolutely. The next question is, what if I don't have time or patience to do this myself? Well, you certainly can outsource this. I'm glad that you're at this point. If you haven't already seen video 1 and 2, please go back and see video 1 and 2 before you decide you want to outsource this, because there's a lot of companies out there that that claim to help you increase your credit score and clean up your credit history. And there's only a handful that I think are reputable. As a matter of fact, the government went through this whole industry because it's kind of it's known as an industry with some shady characters in it. And over 50 companies were shut down by the government over the last 6-7 years. One company that I've done a lot of research on is Lexington Law. They're pretty inexpensive. They've got a good reputation. They've helped over 500,000 people. They get a lot of items removed. I think when I did the report on this company, they got on average 10.3 items removed from the average credit history report. That's pretty good, and that could be a big game changer. Costs you about $100 a month. Try it for a month or two. Not much to lose considering all you have to gain. But before you even spend any money, you can have I know with this company, and maybe with other companies as well, you can have a free consultation. And that's why I'm glad you saw videos 1, 2, and 3. Because you can then, now that you know what's going on in this whole game, you can show them your credit report and you can say, okay, Mr. Lexington Law or Mr. whoever, Mr. Lawyer, here's my report. What can you clean up? What do you think you can do? And why do you think that? And this way you'll listen with an informed mind and you'll see what will be the basis of their recommendations. And if it sounds like hogwash relative to what you've heard over the last 3 videos, then don't do business with anybody if it doesn't make sense. But now that you know how things are cleaned up, listen and ask good questions, and you'll be able to make a better decision as a consumer. Now, the major thing that you're going to have to do in order to really see a significant increase in your credit score is to, as I've said over and over, to understand the process. Understand the process of how the creditors and the credit bureaus work together. Okay? Understand the process that they have to clean up credit errors, but understand that what the process is that is available to you, which is outside of their process. They have a little different process, but the law makes it possible for you to use your own process, which is write to both of them. If the creditor, as I said earlier, if the creditor doesn't agree with your claim that the item must be taken off your report, ask them for their proof. Another little item that I wanted, a little hint, a little trick. If you decide later, if you have a negative item on your credit history, and you want to pay that off, before you pay it off, make sure to talk to the creditor and say, listen, I'm happy to pay this off, but I'd like you to clean it off of my history. And some creditors will do that. But if you don't ask, they won't. And obviously, also, because newer items have much more weight when it comes to your credit score than older items in your past, make sure you deal with the most current problems before you worry about the past. That's another little tip. I'm not sure that I made that clear earlier today. Now, again, just wrapping up, I'm really hopeful that you got a lot out of this and that most important, you'll implement these ideas. Took me a long time to put it together, quite frankly, so I really do hope it's helpful to you. Any questions, any objections, any frustrations or successes, I want to hear about it. Please leave a comment below. please share this with other people. We want to help as many people as possible. And the only way to do that is to sort of get the word out. So share this on your Facebook page, Twitter. Again, leave comments, questions, anything that we can do to help. Now, there's something I'd like you to do. If you've gone through this entire video, and the other two as well, which I really hope you did, then you're more motivated to take action today than you ever have been in the past, and you ever will be in the future. Every day that goes by from here on where you don't do anything about your credit score, the odds are lower and lower and lower that you will do anything. Okay? So you've already gotten your credit score, all right? You've gotten your 3 credit reports. You've gone through them. You know where the problems are and where the potential corrections are. What I'd like you to do today is one of two things. Either start writing your dispute letters and send them out, all right? It won't take you very long now that you've gone through everything. Send out your dispute letters. Send out 3 or 4 this week. Send one out today, just one out today. If on the other hand you've decided you don't want to go through this hassle, you want to use somebody else, and if Lexington Law is the one, that's the one that I recommend, call them up and get your free consultation and do it today. And I only say it because the odds of you doing anything tomorrow and the day after diminish, I don't know by how much, 10, 15% every day, such that in a week from now, the odds of you doing anything about it are pretty low. And the benefit of doing something, anything, is so potentially great that you have nothing to lose. If you're going to do this on your own, okay, it might take you some time. You might get a little frustrated, but it doesn't cost you any money. And if you decide to pay someone $100 for a couple of months, 3 months, or something like that, or even call someone for a free consultation before you even hire them, that's free. Do something. Get involved. You might be amazed how quickly and easily you'll get results. But then you won't get any results unless you get into action. So, thank you for your time. Again, share, comment, let me know what you liked, what you didn't like, what you need more information about. Get into action and take back control over your financial life so that you can increase your credit score, get a great mortgage at a fantastic rate so you can buy the house you want and have control of your financial life and raise your family where you want to raise your family and how you want to raise them. Thank you very much.